well. It's been, it's just, I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've been really, really nice to a lot of people online that probably didn't deserve it at some, and then there's been some people that deserve so much more than I could offer, as I can't really afford to pay people, and my projects are zero based, so it's, it inhibits me as well as, my guests. So there's a lot more I would love to do, and I'll talk about that later in the show, but,
okay.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, did I answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely you did. No, I was about ready to say, too, for all the Aidens and all the Paulas in your life, one Aiden is worth 1 million people who are trying to compete with you, okay? And by the new way of doing things, honestly, and I want to tell you this, Amelia, you mentioned something like, I can't afford to pay you or pay them. That's not your fault, okay? The system is rigged. Okay, I want you to understand that, okay? Because I know there's a lot, and I feel it too. I mean, there's a lot of guilt out there about, how do we really show our appreciation, or how do we show value? And I want to say to anyone who's listening to this as well, too, if you're feeling that, okay, look at it honestly, it's not your fault. Okay, so, those people that you can really confide in, those who pick you up, those who inspire you, like your son, Amelia, like your friend, Paula as well. They got you back in the game. They got you back, doing what you love to do, what you're passionate about, okay, and getting you back into the fight. Those people are worth exponentially more to your life, than anybody who can come into your life and give you, give you $1 million or something like that, because the rules are going to change. And, the only thing I wanted to ask, on top of that is, so you told me what your son might have learned from you. What did you learn from your son?
What have I learned from my son? Oh my gosh, that could go on for days. Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm being serious. Absolutely. We all have something to teach, and we all have something to learn. And I think it's a very high attainment and a high skill to really, to really be able to tune into that. That's what equal partnerships are. That's what mutuality is.
I just continue to be amazed by the fact that, it's like, even on my worst days, my son is just still like, thinks I'm the greatest, and I just, it's crazy to me. And even when I feel like I'm being a robot, or I'm not, fully available, it's just like he's just, I don't know. And I think that it's, it speaks volumes for just showing up. Just show up, regardless of emotion or what we're feeling in the moment, or, outside inhibiting factors. I think, you can be physically strong, you can be mentally strong, but I think emotionally, to be focused and just like have his little face there in front of me every day and know that he's watching, and that other young people are watching me as well online. Every day. I don't know. Every day there could be a new child out there paying attention to what I'm doing. That kind of sticks with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. So these are the kind of things that we discuss in the Karmic Margin Call project at the very beginning. The relationship, the collaboration, that's what defines the journey. And part of that journey is identifying who means the most to you and why they mean mean that to you. So that's kind of like the little lesson, I guess you could say.
And I'll be frank with you. I'll be totally honest. I prefer the company of children and animals. I love animals and I love children because there's no games. There's no games involved.
Yes, exactly. Yes, absolutely. Out of and the game is judgment. The game is judgment. You get back into that sense of play with them. And I think that's what most people are looking for, Amelia. Honestly, getting away from the game.
I am all for it. I'm all for it because listen to me. Listen, I love imagination. I am all for it. They can do whatever they want, but they cannot take my nation, which is the imagination.
I love it. Absolutely. Yes. So that's what we really want to cultivate more than anything else, is those real relationships where that sense of play can flourish. Now, that's not to say that, a certain amount of resistance and structure is not valuable or is not invaluable. But understanding that sense of play, that sense of exploring what it would be like without rules for a little bit. That's essential. I mean, that's the lifeblood of art. That's what gets people alive. And so many experiences in the media, in a lot of film and a lot of video games and a lot of music is kind of like this, cheap imitation of that life. But what you're describing, with that playtime, with the kids and with the animals, that's real, and that's something that you can share. That's something, I think that's something that can be, that can be shared, and that can, that can help you to flourish in all aspects of life.
It's actually authentic, and it's something. And it's something that I try to share with my audience and people like you and my circle online. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate it. But the few that do appreciate it those are the people I love, like you.
Thank you. Right back at you. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, and that's where a lot of the time the conversation goes back to emotional intelligence, because appreciation is a high attainment. I recognize 17 different emotions on the scale. The bottom, being more like guilt and fear, is kind of like not living. Is kind of like living like a robot. But when you get into appreciation, love, joy, peace, all of these things, that's more embracing of life. That's more of the mutuality of living, living with respect and living with reverence.
I think that's something that's missing online. I really do. Just in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to. No, but I don't mean to. I'm interrupting a little bit, and I apologize. But I want to get into a little bit about the virtual time bank, because I think it's integral to this transition that we're making, and we're trying to create a bridge. Right, we're creating a bridge for new resources to come in for artists and entertainers and content creators online. Can you share more about your concepts?
Yeah, absolutely. And no, I think it's good that we just had that conversation about being real and authentic, because that's really the first step. The first step is being able to acknowledge your time with, especially with people who you can spend it with and time just stops. Like this conversation, we're going to be on this conversation for an hour. What the time bank is about is helping people understand that hour that we're spending, doing this, or even somebody listening to a conversation like this, is taking an hour out of the competitive extractive economy and putting it into a new regenerative economy. So the time bank is a software system that helps people keep track of all of that time. And as we grow as a time bank, we're going to be putting new accounting systems in place to help people share monetarily for that time. So this is a lot of more of the more intricate high concept stuff that I have some material out on. But what it really comes down to is when you are tracking your time in service, helping others, or in fellowship, or having meaningful relationships, what this amounts to is that the time bank will start to apply an accounting system where for every $1.25 that you invest in your hour spent, it'll compound on top of itself so that it eventually yields a $50,000 return that's taken out of the extractive economy, that's taken out of inflative business practice, that's taken out of corruption. So the time bank is really kind of like the vehicle, the method, the way to really kind of account for personal productivity as opposed to corrupt extractive productivity, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, the time bank is really our way of bringing the technology to the relationship.
When you say corrupt, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So corruption is really based on exploitation. So we're being exploited, for the most part, going to a job and trying to compete with others. Because if you look at the amount of money that is in the world, or that we believe is in the world, we are competing for breadcrumbs. Little breadcrumbs.
Quite literally. I mean, it's...
Yeah, very, very literally. Yes. And as far as kind of like the more intricate details of time banking and reverse market mechanics, we kind of look at that. And we noticed that we're really worth very little. We're worth very little to the people who run the world, so to speak.
Yeah, it's very uninspiring, Michael.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's very uninspiring.
It is very uninspiring, and the thing is, you can measure that in the fact that there's a $277 trillion debt and counting. I'm not exactly sure what it is because that number is from September of 2020. And there's only about $60 to $80 trillion of material assets in the world. So there's this mind game going on, that competing for something that doesn't really exist is worthwhile, and it's not fulfilling. So being able to acknowledge that, see what it is that we're really up against, will help us to be more inspired to spend our time doing things that are fulfilling, that really do solve societal problems. And most of societal problems are really psychological. Yes, there's a lot of environmental type of issues. Yes, there's a lot of systemic issues, but a lot of it is psychological and spiritual, and that's what we've kind of been.
Well, and I think that's why I think moving forward that the Karmic Margin Call project is so important and integral, because so many are struggling with this and the value of content that's put online. How can we constructively build going forward? Because we really want to promote. Going forward online for 2021, the Karmic Margin Call project.
Margin Call project. Yeah.
No, I didn't mean. I just got a little tongue tied.
Yeah.
No, you know,